Hello and welcome, dear viewers. Our topic is Motions of the Earth. This is part 2 of my presentation for class 6th, and this presentation is about a revolution of Earth. It is prepared by Taslim Arif, DRP, Diet, Gandharbal. So, before going into the details of this presentation, let's first try to understand what are learning outcomes, what we expect our students to know at the end of this presentation. First is they must be able to demonstrate seasons. They must be able to identify important latitudes like equator, Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, Arctic Circle, and Antarctic Circle. They must be able to understand the formation of seasons and impact of tilt axis. So, dear students, let's have a look at motions of the Earth. There are two important motions of Earth. One is rotation and the other is revolution. The Earth revolves around the Sun on an elliptical path. This is elliptical path. This is elliptical path, and on this elliptical path, the Earth revolves around the Sun, and at the same time, the Earth also rotates on its own axis. As I discussed in first presentation, that was about revolution. So there are clear two moments. One is a rotation and the other is a revolution. Now, what is a revolution? The second important motion of Earth after a rotation is a revolution. While the Earth is spinning on its axis, it's at the same time revolving around the Sun in a counterclockwise direction. It takes Earth one full year to complete one full revolution around the Sun. The path is known as Earth's orbit. The Earth revolves around the Sun in a fixed path or orbit. Revolution causes the change of seasons. The actual time of revolution of Earth around the Sun is 365 days and 6 hours. That's 1 year. But we consider a year of 365 days only and ignore 6 hours for the sake of convenience. 6 hours saved every year for continuously 4 years are likely to make 1 day. We add this 1 day to the month of February after every 4 years, and the count of 1 year becomes 366 days, and this year is called as leap year. तो प्यारे बच्चों, जैसा कि हम अभी देख रहे हैं कि अपनी जो अर्थ है ये अपना एक रेवोल्यूशन कंप्लीट करती है 365 डेज एंड 6 आवर्स में। अब हम जानने की कोशिश करेंगे व्हाट इज समर सॉलिस्टिस। द एक्सिस ऑफ अर्थ is tilted by 23.5 degrees, and we know that this tilt is the angle made with the vertical which is drawn on orbital plane. It is because of the tilt that the hemisphere close to the sun receives maximum insolation and experiences summer climate like this. If we consider this position of Earth, this time northern hemisphere is close to sun and experiencing maximum insolation, rather direct insolation at certain latitudes, especially Tropic of Cancer, and that's why it is summer in northern hemisphere. While the other part of Earth is little far and experiences cold climate. Here in this picture we can see that this portion is close to sun and experiences summer climate. This portion, which is southern hemisphere, is little far away from the sun. That's why this portion experiences cold climatic conditions. When northern hemisphere is inclined towards sun, the place is beyond the Arctic Circle. That is this, beyond Arctic Circle. experience continuous daylight since a large portion of the northern hemisphere is getting light from the sun. It is summer in the region north of equator. That's in northern hemisphere, as I said earlier. The longest day and the shortest night at these places occur on 21st June. So, dear students, now we got to know that it's on 21st June when in northern hemisphere most of the portion of northern hemisphere receives illumination from the sun. That's why we experience longest day on 21st June in northern hemisphere. At this time in the southern hemisphere, all these conditions are reversed. Days are short and nights are long. This position, when on 21st June, northern hemisphere receives maximum insolation, days are longer, nights are short. At the same time, in southern hemisphere, nights are long and days are short. This position of earth is called as summer solstice. At the same time, if we see the condition in southern hemisphere, this time southern hemisphere comes close to sun and receives maximum insolation. That means it will be summer in southern hemisphere when we talk of this position of earth, and it will be winter in northern hemisphere. Here it was summer in northern hemisphere and winter in southern hemisphere. Now here it is summer in southern hemisphere and winter in northern hemisphere. This all happens because of revolution of earth around the sun. Earth changed its positions. It changed its positions. With the changing positions and the tilt of earth, only a particular portion is exposed to insolation and experiences different climatic conditions. And here we can see on December 21st, what we experienced here on 21st June, the same condition is experienced here in southern hemisphere. What we have longest day in southern hemisphere and shortest night. At the same time in northern hemisphere, we have longer nights and short days. This position when on 22nd December, there's biggest day in the southern hemisphere and shortest night. This is called winter solstice. So we should understand that when it is summer solstice in the northern hemisphere, at the same time it is it is in December winter solstice in southern hemisphere. So here we can understand about winter solstice. The Tropic of Capricorn gets direct rays of the sun and the South Pole tilts towards it. It is summer in southern hemisphere and winter in northern hemisphere. This position of Earth is called a winter solstice. Now we have equinoxes. We got to know that Earth changed its positions around the sun. There's a place when equator receives insolation direct from the sun, and insolation is equally distributed in both the hemispheres, that in both north and south. In both the hemispheres, insolation is equally distributed. It will be the same duration of day and night. On 21st March and 23rd September, direct rays of sun fall on the equator. At this time, neither of the poles is tilted towards the sun, so the whole earth experiences equal days and equal nights. This position of earth is called as equinox. On 23rd September, it is autumn season in northern hemisphere and spring season in the southern hemisphere. But on 21st March, it is spring season in northern hemisphere and autumn season in southern hemisphere. So we can easily see in this picture when it is receiving insolation from the sun, it means summer in northern hemisphere, winter in southern hemisphere. Here it is summer in southern hemisphere and winter in northern hemisphere. So dear students, this was all about presentation. Now let's have an assessment. First, short answer questions. What is a revolution of earth? What do you know about summer and winter solstice? What are equinoxes? What is the impact of rotation and revolution on our lives? Now, objectives. Geography does not support use of diagrams, models, activities, and field trips, use of information, communication, and technology, use of maps and audiovisual aids, cramming of concepts. You have to choose the correct option. Motions of the earth include rotation, revolution, circulation, both A and B, A and C, B and C. While studying geography, learners, means students, are able to distinguish between stars, planets, and satellites, recognize that Earth is a unique celestial body due to existence of life, demonstrates day and night formation and formation of seasons, all the above. Geography teaching, learning promotes ability to learn and follow the views expressed in textbooks only, to develop understanding of the human values and respect for diversity, learning of concepts through rote memorization, to carry forward the subject to higher levels only. You have to choose the correct option. This was all about presentation. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.